If you've been scrolling through endless telescope listings, watching video after video, and still feel like you're stuck in a loop of which one actually gives me good views without turning my backyard into a construction site, this review is meant to cut through the noise. I've spent a few evenings actually setting up the Celestron 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, reading through the spec sheet, and cross-checking a handful of buyer questions that pop up on forums. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the hesitation most people feel isn't about the brand. Celestron has been a household name in amateur astronomy for decades, but about the middle ground the 8-inch SCT occupies. It's bigger than a 4-inch refractor you might find on a store shelf, yet smaller than the 11-inch rigs that demand a permanent pier and a dedicated power source. The risk of buying the wrong thing is that you could end up with a telescope that's either too heavy for your balcony or too underpowered for the deep sky objects you want to explore. That's why I'm focusing less on the numbers and more on what the tube actually does in a real backyard session. The first thing you notice when you unpack the Celestron 8 is how the optical tube sits in a fairly robust foam insert, which makes transport a little less of a juggling act. The tube itself weighs just over 30 pounds, so you'll need a sturdy mount. Celestron sells a compatible Alt-AZ or equatorial mount, but you'll have to buy that separately. Once you've got the mount set up, the tube slides onto the Dovetail bar in a way that feels secure, and the integrated 630mm finderscope clicks into place. I found that the finderscope is bright enough for city sky use, which is a practical win. You can lock onto a bright star, then swing the main tube, and still see the target within the field of view. From a visual standpoint, the 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain optics deliver what the marketing calls superior optics. In plain language, that means more light gathering power than a typical 6-inch Dobsonian, and a flatter field that makes planets look crisp even at higher magnifications. I used the included 25mm eyepiece and a 1.25-inch star diagonal to peek at Jupiter, and the cloud bands were clearly distinguishable, something you usually need a 10-inch aperture to achieve with a simple Newtonian. For deep sky fans, the tube's focal length lets you pair it with longer eyepieces or a Barlow to pull out faint galaxies like M81 or the Orion Nebula's outer halo without the image breaking up. Now, let's talk practicality. The tube's compact folded optics design means the overall length is under 2 feet, which is a relief compared to a similarly powered Newtonian that can stretch 3 feet long. This makes it easier to store in a garage or a spare room when you're not observing. However, the trade-off is the need for precise collimation after each move. I noticed a slight shift after transporting the tube from the car to the backyard, and a quick tweak of the primary mirror screws restored the sharpness. If you're someone who wants a point-and-stare experience with minimal adjustment, that extra step might feel like a chore. Who should consider buying this setup? If you've already spent a season or two with a small refractor and are itching to see more detail on planets, or if you've joined a local astronomy club and want a portable instrument that can still hold its own at a star party, the 8-inch SCT hits a sweet spot. It's also a good fit for families who want a serious telescope that can grow with a kid's curiosity. There's enough aperture to keep the experience fresh for years, and the accessories, eyepiece, diagonal, finderscope, give you a ready-to-go package without hunting down third-party parts. On the flip side, if you're absolute new to stargazing, you might find the learning curve steep. Aligning the tube, balancing it on a mount, and dealing with occasional collimation tweaks require a bit of patience. Those who prioritize portability above all, like campers who want to pack a telescope in a backpack, will probably find the weight and need for a stable mount a drawback. And if you were hoping for a plug-and-play system with built-in motorized tracking, you'll be disappointed. The Celestron 8 is a manual instrument by design, which keeps the price lower but adds the responsibility of manual tracking. Another practical consideration is the value you actually get beyond the headline specs. The included 25mm eyepiece is a decent starter, but many serious users quickly upgrade to a 32mm or a low-power wide-field eyepiece for nebulae work. The 1.25-inch star diagonal works well for